everyone, I'm Tanaz from Forever Conscious, and this is your weekly energy forecast for the week of October 14th. So, we are in the thick of Venus retrograde. I want you all to think of Venus retrograde like a death and rebirth, because that's kind of what it is. We see Venus in the night sky. She's shining brightly as a star. We can see her. I don't know if you've had a chance to see her over the last few months. Bright star in the sky, usually Venus. And then Venus starts dipping below the horizon. And this is what is referred to as her retrograde. You see her in the night sky, and then she gets lower and lower and lower until you can't see her. And that is what the ancients, or the myth of Venus entering the underworld, was all about. Venus going retrograde. She would travel through the underworld where she would experience a type of death. And that is sort of the phase that we are in right now. We are in the death phase. And then once Venus emerges again, she is reborn and she becomes a morning star. So this death and rebirth phase of Venus is mirrored within us, and Venus rules over the heart. So in a sense, you could say that we are all undergoing a death and rebirth of our hearts. Now, the main focus and the main theme to this Venus retrograde, or this portion of the retrograde while we're undergoing this death, is removing, releasing, and shedding all the things that prevent you or stop you or inhibit you from loving yourself. And it's kind of like a two-way street, because there are things that prevent us from loving ourselves, but then there are also things that we allow and accept that stop us from loving ourselves. And so it's really about looking at all of that whole picture, that whole spectrum of your life, and saying, how can I love myself more? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? What am I no longer willing to accept? What is no longer supporting my highest good? And it's really taking that sort of harsh, I guess for lack of a better word, approach about self-love. You know, self-love is not just about pampering. There's a fire to it as well, of like, you know what? I love myself too much to tolerate this anymore, or I love myself too much to be treated that way. And so this week, what we're really going to be encouraged to do is get to that place, get to that fiery place with things in our life or things that are coming up for us, and then to set boundaries. Because as Maya Angelou says, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And this is not just about people. This is about your relationship with all things in your life. It's the relationship with yourself, with money, with your job, with your career, with your family. It's all relationships and all connections that you have. And it's really important. And this week, the energy that we're going to be encouraged to work with this week is how to set those healthy boundaries so you can have thriving, healthy relationships. I am not the best boundary setter. I know setting boundaries can be tough because we don't want to be the bad guy. We don't want to say no. But if we keep compromising ourselves, if we keep saying yes to the things that we don't want to do, if we keep giving and giving and giving when we know it's not serving our highest selves, eventually we're going to find ourselves depleted, our self-esteem is going to be low, and we're going to find that we're living for other people rather than really living for ourselves. I get it. Life brings us things that sometimes we don't want to do. No one wants to do taxes. Some people might. I don't know. You know, there are things that we have to do. There are things that we have to do to be responsible citizens. But then there are things that we pressure ourselves to do that we don't have to do, but we're putting this false sense of pressure. And so these are all things that might come up for you this week. And whatever it is, whatever is stirring for you in your heart as you move through this death phase of this heart energy, what boundaries can you put in place that are more loving and more respectful towards yourself? Because that is really what we are being encouraged to do. We're just being encouraged to love ourselves more and to really prove it. Prove how much you love yourself by setting those boundaries, by learning how to say no to things that don't serve you or people that don't respect you. And it's about learning how to put those boundaries in place. So, where do you start? Let's say something's come up and you're like, okay, how do I set a boundary? Here's a little simple thing that you can do. Place your hands over your heart center, so in the middle of the chest. Close your eyes and just say, the most loving thing I can do for myself right now is and then see what answer comes about. So the most loving thing I can do for myself right now is, and then trust whatever the first answer is that arises. Setting boundaries doesn't need to be something dramatic, right? It can be something small. It can be baby steps that protect you and protect your energy and just make you feel a little bit safer and more comforted with whatever it is that's going on. But it starts from a place of love. You know, creating healthy boundaries is about creating them through love and not through fear. And so, you know, just be aware of that difference. So start with the most loving thing I can do for myself right now or with this situation is this. See what answer steps forward for you, trust it, follow through, and work on creating those boundaries so you can be more of yourself, own more of yourself, and love more of yourself, because that is essentially what Venus wants us to do. She wants us to love ourselves so we can in turn love others and give love to the world. So we are in the thick of it, but I hope this week that the idea of setting these healthy boundaries helps and supports you. I am Tanaz from Forever Conscious. Thank you so much.